Okay. So what is my life like at Sheriff Brook now? I think it's been the biggest transformational experience that I've ever experienced. Wow. Okay. Well, obviously, I went from believing that war is a good thing, war is a just thing, war is a courageous thing, an honorable thing, to being a pretty serious war resistor, and that's taken some. It took some time. I think it's because it started way before I moved in here, but it's to the point now where I'm pretty. When the situation calls for it, or when I feel the Spirit call me to it, I'm pretty willing to resist with my body too, and have practiced civil disobedience and made statements in ways like that. I think
Could you say a little bit more about that? I mean, use your body. What does that mean?
Yeah. So I guess it was 2 years ago, about 2 years ago. We went to the Catholic Worker Resistance Retreat in Chicago, and it was about military spending, the amount of money we spend on war every year. And it was kind of a symbolic thing for me, but I really felt like I need to, and this is actually before I became a conscientious objector, and I felt like I needed to do something to counteract what I've participated in previous years. And so the whole weekend was shaped around learning about our military spending and how much our budget, federal budget, is used for military spending and our taxes and so at the end of the retreat we did an action, a nonviolent direct action together as a community, and our community with a bunch of other communities. And so we went to the federal building in Chicago, and it was kind of a street theater kind of thing, but we went inside and we did a die-in. We called it a die-in, where we laid on the ground and as if we were dead, and we contrasted the works of mercy with the works of war, and we spoke those out for everyone in the building. Someone was our spokesperson, but and some of us stood at the windows with blood on our hands and looked out, and symbolizing, how we participated in this violence by the taxes that we've paid that went to war, but also our compliance and not speaking out against it and that sort of thing. And so we were in there until they came and arrested us, and we said, we're not going to leave until this violence is addressed. And so there was, I think, around 11 of us that were arrested during that action, and seeing that as a responsibility and a duty to speak out and be willing to risk arrest is something that most Christians don't think is Christian.
Why do you think that is?
Well, if you're in America, if you're a good Christian, you're a good citizen, and you pay your taxes and you obey all the speed laws and whatever,
But you obey the speed laws mostly.
Yeah, you're right. No, I shouldn't say it like that. If you're a good Christian, why would you resist your government that's doing you good, especially in America, because our government is a democracy, and I think for most Christians, I'm speaking pretty generally, but their Christianity is connected to their social status, their how they're viewed as a citizen as well. And so Jesus' citizenship calls us to a different citizenship, a citizenship that's in the kingdom of God, and where we find new laws to obey. And these are higher laws of love and justice and peacemaking, where we make a life commitment to obey these laws, so that when a law that the United States is telling us that we should obey because that's the good thing to do, but it violates a higher law that Jesus has called us to do, like love your enemies, or welcome the stranger, welcome the illegal person. These are higher laws than what our government would tell us to obey. So does that answer your question? Okay. I guess you want me to continue with the civil disobedience stuff?
If you like. I mean, if that helps you tell your story here, that's
Okay.
what I would like you to do.
So let me connect that to my Christian walk. So we've done a lot of resistance work against this nuclear weapons plant that they're building in Kansas City, and we've seen that as a thing that affects everyone in Kansas City, and something that we should take very seriously. And the city of Kansas City is using tax money to build a new nuclear weapons parts plant, and they're doing it under the language of creating new jobs for Kansas City, and in this terrible time of economy, this is going to be a good thing for Kansas City, because we're going to create jobs. But they're not. I mean, it's a long story, but they're not really creating jobs. They're just keeping jobs and reducing it a little bit from the jobs that they already had at the old nuclear weapons plant in Kansas City, and they're just moving them over. But they're using city taxpayers' dollars to do it, and so we've seen it as our duty as Christians to speak out against this violence that's happening, the contamination of land and people, and then just the insanity of building a weapon that will destroy the earth if it's ever used, and so we've done a lot of organizing around this. And I was going to church at a church in the neighborhood, a Nazarene church, where I grew up in the Nazarene denomination, and I was pretty passionate about this, and thought that we should be talking about this as a church community. And as Christians, we're called to respond with love, and when this violence is happening, we should be peacemakers in these situations. And so I would speak about it in church on Sunday morning during our testimony time, and I mean, I wasn't terribly surprised, but my pastor didn't like that at all, and didn't like when I would talk about resisting war and connecting these like political choices that our city's made and our government's once made with choices that we have to make as Christians and how our Christianity connects with the, politics, and finally got to, I talked with the pastor as much as I could about, this is why I think we need to talk about this, and it got to a point where the pastor was refusing to have any conversations with me, and finally one day he said, you're not allowed to talk about it anymore. I'm not gonna let you talk about it anymore, and you're not allowed to volunteer with the youth group anymore, or volunteer with anything anymore. You can come here and you can worship with us, but you can't talk about that stuff anymore. And so basically they silenced me, and
I agree.
So that's all right. So that was a pretty sad thing for me. Felt like, and there's some in this church community at Cherith Brook. I found a lot of empowerment and passion behind resisting. And
you know what he did? I mean, there's a technical term for that. I mean, it's just short of excommunication.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like you were excommunicated or exiled from the church?
Well, yeah, that's how it felt. I mean, I was pretty involved in the youth group, and I was basically the main volunteer and led most of the youth activities. It wasn't a paid position; it was just a volunteer thing. But I was pretty serious about it, and had built relationships for a year, a little more than a year, and for him to say, you're not allowed to be in the youth group anymore, and it felt pretty. Yeah, it felt pretty harsh. So I just decided I'm not gonna push that anymore, and I'll just go somewhere else, I guess. I mean, I could have stayed, and I just didn't feel like it was worth it. But yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about what was going on in your mind when we were doing the street walk. What's that called, by the way? I don't remember what when we'd go out on. You all do that, and then we saw that little confrontation developing after that kind of ugly interaction with Brandon.
Yeah. So we go out on the street. We used to do it once a week, and we go to different places in our neighborhood where violence happens, prostitution and drug dealing, and we go kind of just to be present in these places of violence, and just to be a reminder of for people of who they are, and to be a distraction, a good distraction from what's happening. And so we're on the street, and a guy walks across the street and approaches us, and is obviously high or intoxicated, and asks some pretty abrupt questions about Elizabeth, and so we're all just kind of listening and trying to understand where this person's coming from. And so I see across the street his friend, who he was just with, and a guy. He's standing outside of a store, and a guy walks past him going into the store, and he tries to, I didn't see exactly what happened, he tried to trip the guy or something like that, and they got into a little scuffle, and they're going at it like this, about to start swinging, and they kind of go out into the street a little bit, and So I guess my response was, you know, something's gonna happen, and I'm standing here watching it. This person is just trying to go get something at the store, is about to be beat up by this guy. I should do something. I should help the situation. So I mean, my response was, I don't know, just to go and watch and see if that person needed my, you know, my help or something. I don't know, but just to be in that situation, to offer.
Now, most folks, I think, would see that. I mean, most folks, that's a generalization, but most people standing across a four-lane road would see that and say, I hope that guy doesn't get the bejeebers beat out of him, and keep walking, and maybe call the police, 911 or something like that. And in that neighborhood, who knows what will happen. But what was going on in terms of Cherith Brooks' philosophy of non-violence that, one, led us to be out there on the streets, but also led you to respond in that particular way by actually going over there, taking an interest in what's going on, and insinuating your presence in one way or another? What is it about Cherith Brook that led you to do that?
Well, I guess the thing that I've learned about at Cherith Brook is when I see a violence, I can't close my eyes to it and turn around and ignore that it's happening. If I see it happening, I have to find some way to respond to it. I mean, maybe it's not in my business. Sometimes it feels like I'm intruding on someone else's business, but it is my business when I'm a witness to a violence that someone could be hurt.
So similar to the die-in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not it's not apples and oranges here. I mean, it may be a different context, different setting, but it's similar kind of.
Basically the same. Similar thing. So I would I would think most people would probably try and turn the other way and walk down the street and try and get away, I guess. But I feel like if I can adjust to that situation in a more positive way, I should try, at least.